I heard you mention your daughter. I have my wife's here. I have a little boy. I just wondered if you had any tips for young filmmakers with families, and what's it like being an established filmmaker with a family?
I guess I never allowed myself to think of any other scenario. Filmmaking is, generally speaking, the least family-friendly job you could have. I mean, even athletes are home half the time, And I guess I used writing to get power and say, what happened was I had made 2 movies before Sixth Sense, and they both failed miserably. And that was, I did one at 21, and it failed miserably. It was in like a movie theater for 3 movie theaters for 5 weeks, and it was I remember it was at the Ritz East, and I was trying to hand out flyers with my wife, and it was raining, and I tried to come in, and the manager was like, "Get outside! You can't hand out flyers out here." And I'm like, "I'm gonna get in one day." That film failed, and then the next film for Miramax failed as well. The first movie made $25,000, the next one made $250,000. Not a good track record for me, but I had learned a lot, and I basically got steeled, I think, from those 2 losses, and the 6 years that went, it came out ready, I felt like you could not hurt me. And so I wrote this screenplay and I go, we're selling this for $1 million. That's what I wrote to my agents, and I go, they can't even read it unless they agree to that price. I don't want to hear anything about it, and I'm directing it. Literally, I was like that, and I just started making a sandwich. That was it. I was like, that's it. We're not having a conversation. And it went out, and half the studios immediately passed, and then the other half started bidding, and we got, $3 million for it. And it was one of those things of, I just wasn't considering any other option. We're going to do it. We're going to shoot it in Philly. It's going to be in the contracts. That's it. And you know what? The funny thing is, in our field, and as a filmmaker, they want leaders. They want someone with a vision, and you will find somebody to back you with the clarity, not cockiness, but confidence. And it's a clarity of this is the way we're going to do it. And I literally said that we're going to shelve this script. If I don't get what I want, I'll write something else. We're going to show that was Sixth Sense, and that kind of commitment to it. That you just there's no wiggle room here. You can't. Nobody hears it in your voice. There's nothing there. There's no like, well, if you pay me enough, maybe I'll, I can leave my family for a little bit. And so in that same way, when I was offered the first Harry Potter, we had a conversation about whether we should go to London, or not, because it's going to be it's a British book, and we talked about it, and there's a lot of decisions you make for or against it. And, for me, ironically, as always, whenever you have a real clean point of view in life, whenever your voice is very strong, you become incredibly powerful. It doesn't matter what field you're in, that becomes incredibly powerful if they hear your voice and you go, this is who I am. I'm Philly. I got family. We're gonna do it this way, okay? And whatever we can achieve that way, that's the way we're gonna do it. And then it suddenly starts. First, your writing has a different flavor from everything that they're reading because you're not from that pool. You don't hang out with them at lunch. We don't talk about this actress or this thing or what they're looking for. I don't know, and I don't care. I wanted to make a comic book movie before they were ready to make comic book movies, and so maybe it missed. And I believe that Unbreakable today, the tone of it would go through the roof, like with Inception and the way that, with Dark Knight, it's so, everything is leaning edgy and dark now. And I believe this tone is actually better now than it was when it opened for the hidden and sweet spot. So you let it go, and you make your choices, and it's been a great ride because everything has felt so pure. Like I literally I look at my shelf with the movies and they feel like so me, so personal, I don't think anybody understands it. It's not a job. My kids I always say, I don't have a job, I guess the only thing they pay me for is to sell the movies, like do the talk shows and all that stuff, but I'm making movies. That's definitely not a job. So I would, be, the more specific, like I was talking, I know I'm going to go on just a tad longer, right? This subject's obviously very important to me. I was, I taught once at this in an inner city school here, and in a writing class, and I was saying to them, I said, I'm the highest paid writer in the world, word for word. And I go, how did that happen? And the kids were all like, I did that to grab their attention. So then they're all awake and they're all looking at me. And they were like, they raised their hand, luck, and I said, yes, for sure, keep going, keep going. And they were like, they came up with different answers, and I said, you know, I said, the answer is, I said, I wasn't even the best in writing in my writing class in high school. How did this happen? I know no one in the family is in business, right? No one, I live 3,000 miles away from everything. I'm definitely not the smartest, I'm not the best writer, so how did this happen? And I go, I thought about it, and I said, I think I have a reason, and I said, I'm just more me than they are them. That's just the bottom line. You know, I'm willing to show you every negative and positive, completely open about how I'm feeling. He feels depressed because I was feeling depressed. When he wakes up in the morning, he feels sadness, that's me, you know? That's what I was feeling. In Signs, they're telling the stories of my kids being born. You know, it's just me. This is how I am. I cry at Extreme Home Makeover. That's me. You know, and I know that critics are going to rail me for that side of me. That's me. I'm also really edgy. I'm also in a basketball court. You don't want to mess with me. You know, I'm that guy too. You know, all those sides. And so I put that guy on paper without any editing every single time, and it pops. It pops right through. And I said to those kids, I said, you have an advantage. Don't try to write like me. I'll beat you. Don't try to write like, oh, an action movie or anything. I said, you know something, and those kids in particular, I was like, you just heard the principal, I couldn't hear what he was saying on the speaker because your speaker's messed up. That's something you know, you feel specifically, that you can beat me with. I can't beat you, you know? And so the more specific you can be with your, whatever, the things you're living with your wife and your daughter and all, it's exactly your weapon. So don't run from it, that is your weapon.
I've gotten the high sign. I think we would love to keep you here for another couple of hours.
Let's do 2 last questions.
Can we do 2 last questions? Okay. 2 good, great questions. The best questions.
How you doing? I just want to say that I started film school a little bit late. I started in 1999, the year Sixth Sense came out. I took my wife, and I was also a Spielberg Lucas baby. And after seeing Sixth Sense, I said to my wife, I make the right decision coming back.
Oh, thank you.
I said, this is I mean, it made me feel what I felt like you were supposed to feel when you were in the movie. So, and then as I was about to graduate for a couple years later, Unbreakable. And I've been doing it ever since, never gave up. Was a horrible writer, and just worked on my writing for years. About to make my first feature, and I want you to have a t-shirt for the feature.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
You kept me going over
Thank
here.
you very much. That's very
It's called The Underground, Supernatural.
Very
Sweet.
nice.
Last one.
In the back.
Yeah, anybody in the back, go grab one. Right there, the waving dude.
All right, sweet. Big fan, man. I got 2 questions.
Hit me.
First one is the obvious one. Why did you show the alien at the end of Signs?
Well, you know, that's funny. I wrote it for, you know, and when you read the screenplay of Signs, it was mimicking its background, so you couldn't really see it. It was camouflaged the whole time. And so, you know, as I wrote it, you see like the little boy hanging in the air. And at that time, we couldn't do it. ILM couldn't do that. It looked like glass. It looked like, you know, it just didn't look like a lizard or an octopus who's mimicking its background. It was very tricky to get texture at that time. We probably could pull it off now. So it was one of those things that we tried. We literally doubled the CGI budget and kept on going. It was a struggle to do what I had in my head.
All right, well, the more important question is, was Elijah's mother in on the whole thing?
You know, she wasn't. I just wonder whether she would be all that upset. She's such an amazing actress. She played it with such dignity, you know, that he found his place. You know, I had toyed with the idea of her being in on it, but in my mind, she wasn't in on it. She was just proud of her.
Yeah, she seemed like she would like do anything to help her.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple other scenes with her and the kid that I couldn't put in there. Phenomenal. He goes on a Ferris wheel ride, sneaks away from her, and he gets slammed around in the Ferris wheel and breaks his bones. It's brilliant. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I want to